it was reported yesterday that the NFL committee is starting to discuss a new overtime rule proposal. Now, I understand that most people are highly emotional when it comes to sports and can easily be swayed when it comes to the outcomes of sports at its most recent event. Meaning there's always this kind of recency bias towards the outcome of sporting events, and specifically the latest outcome of sporting events. So there was a lot of public discourse. I think there was a lot of public outcry and disappointment when we saw in this last NFL playoffs, which was excellent, by the way, start to finish, perhaps the best stretch of football games that we've seen in a postseason. We saw how disappointed fans were that they felt certain games were decided by the coin flip in overtime. So this is where a lot of this stems from. Now, obviously, this doesn't stem from just this one postseason, in which, again, the notable example is the Chiefs versus the Bills, perhaps one of the best NFL games, period, that we've seen in the history of the sport. 25 combined points in the final 3 minutes. It was an incredible game from start to finish that the Chiefs won in overtime, 42-36. Mahomes and Allen had this battle. They were sensational. But then Mahomes won the coin flip in overtime and went on to win that game and advance to the AFC Championship game. Now, there are countless other examples in recent years that we've seen that. The Chiefs were involved in one against the Patriots in 2018. This time, Tom Brady was on the receiving end of the winning coin flip. He led the Patriots on a first possession touchdown to win. We've seen Tim Tebow with the Denver Broncos in the postseason hitting Demaryius Thomas on that slant route. RIP to Demaryius Thomas, but an incredible player. And that one play against the Steelers in the postseason. So we've seen numerous examples in which that coin flip, winning it, has obviously benefited the team that's won. But we've also seen a lot of examples in which winning the coin flip doesn't decide and determine the outcome. Just from this own postseason, the Chiefs against the Bengals. Bengals defense came up with a stop and then ended up winning. So even the Rams in 2017 against the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees playing inside the dome in the NFC Championship game, the Saints won the toss in overtime. Rams defense came up with a stop, and then Greg the Leg Zuerlein hit a 55-yard walk-off field goal. So the point is, I understand that in theory, the game should be won within the first 60 minutes of regulation. That is the so-called fair time to win a football game, to decide the outcome of a football game. And so if neither side can seize it, can claim the victory, then I think that I understand how the fairness aspect of a football game gets dropped. But for me, while I understand all of that, while I understand that overtime isn't decided by the coin flip, while I understand that ostensibly the defense is given the opportunity to come up with a stop, to provide their offense with another possession, while I understand all of that, and all of that is true, I do agree with this potential new proposal. I do agree with the idea that both sides, both teams, should get at least one offensive possession. I do agree that they should eradicate the possibility of a first possession touchdown ending the game. And the main reason is just, again, I understand that the fairness aspect of the game is decided through the first 60 minutes. But I don't think that it totally disrupts the fabric of the game, of the sport. I don't think that it takes away from the sport's integrity. I think sometimes you have to think about those, you have to consider those things. Will this really detract from the sport? Is this giving a decisive disadvantage to one team? I think those are questions that need to be had. And I think finally the NFL is starting to see the light with that. I don't think that this is an overreaction to recent NFL events. And I wouldn't view it that way. Instead, I would view it as the NFL is wisely and shrewdly starting to potentially adopt a new rule and modify its current rules to help improve the game and to help improve the viewing experience. Now, as far as how specifically they are going to address this and what type of rules they're going to implement, there have been lots of discussions about that. But from a fundamental standpoint, just the idea of having a universal rule that allows for both teams to have at least one possession, I think is important, and I think it's the right move. And I think it's one that will have success moving forward. Looking forward to seeing what those details of that rule are whenever they do come out.